Hello, and welcome to this channel. I'm grateful for your attendance, and I hope you'll be blessed and gain some benefit from listening to these Dhamma talks from the little book Kamatthana. Today we're going to conclude page 46. We've been talking about something called Nama Rupa. Nama is mind and all of its various facets and capabilities. And we're going to conclude today the fifth of a five-step evolution of awareness that occurs in consciousness every time we make contact with the world through the five senses or through our thinking process. And today we're technically on the last step of this process. So the first step was we need a mind-body. The second was they're going to be contact with the world through this mind-body. Their contact creates sensations on the body which are recorded as memory. Once a memory makes contact with those sensations, it tells us what kind of experience we're having based on our past experiences. Then thinking, sankharas take over, and they will not stop thinking unless we intervene. And then those four steps occur. All of this occurs on the nanosecond level, and the fact that those four steps have occurred is called consciousness. So 4E on page 46 says vijnana, or consciousness, and a deeper definition of that is just a few pages back if you want to review that, page 42. So without consciousness, no mental factors are available. So it's self-evident that when we're in a coma, we don't hear anything, we don't see anything, smell, taste, or touch anything. I don't know about thought processes when we're in a coma. I know that if there's no brain activity when we're in a coma, that the medical professionals suggest terminating any life support. So without consciousness, then obviously, quote, we don't know what's going on. Consciousness and all mental factors are interrelated, interdependent, and coexistent. So mental factors are interrelated, interdependent, and coexistent. Without mind, there's no life. Regardless of what kind of body we may be in, without consciousness, nothing exists. Consciousness arises through the interaction of the six sense faculties and their sense objects. So this phenomena is really interesting. So we open our eyes, and there isn't eye consciousness until the eye makes contact with an object. So it's a kind of elixir, a kind of magic. The eye makes contact with a color or a form. And in that moment, eye consciousness arises. And if we move our eye to another object, eye consciousness arises when we make contact with that object. Now, because this is happening on a nanosecond level, obviously it's happening over and over and over and over and over again, just to constitute 1 second of seeing something. The point is, this eye consciousness is unique to the eye. This consciousness that recognizes forms and colors is not the consciousness that hears sounds, smells, aromas, tastes, flavors, or feels the touch on the body. Each of the 5 senses has their own consciousness. One example of this would be, we may be blind, but we're not deaf. So we have a consciousness associated with each of the 5 senses. If we are looking at something, but we're not hearing anything, then we do not have hearing consciousness in that moment. Obviously, we can look at something, we can hear something, we can smell something, we can taste something, and we can feel something. I'm thinking of eating a meal. All of the 6 sense doors are making contact. We also have an opinion about what we're eating. So, technically speaking, each of those 6 sense doors has their own consciousness, and they arise and pass away so quickly we cannot distinguish that they are happening independent of each other. So it just seems to be happening all at once. I don't know how important it is to understand this sort of scientific phenomena. The point is, a consciousness arises when one of our 6 sense faculties makes contact with the world, including when the mind makes contact with a thought. Consciousness lies outside the realm of the physical world. It cannot be discerned by the 5 senses, but is the master of them. Now, this is really also so important. Frankly, as far as I can tell, scientists do not understand what consciousness is. They confuse consciousness with brain activity. So, as I mentioned before, when there's no brain activity, you must be dead. Because consciousness is invisible, there's no way for scientists to investigate it. They don't have a tool that can discover consciousness because it's not a thing in the way the brain is. So technically speaking, consciousness is interacting with the brain, which produces brain waves and algorithms and I don't know the details, but it is independent of that brain and of that body and of all the 5 and 6 senses of that body. So this is be one way of saying life after death. Its consciousness doesn't die. So the body, because it's an organic thing, unlike consciousness is also a thing, but not a thing that scientists can experiment with directly. So consciousness is the master, not the body. The brain is not the master of consciousness. Without consciousness, there is no life as far as we are concerned. Vijnana informs the mind chitta. So it's an agent of the mind, the ultimate mind, and it's a sort of an intermediary that is passing information on to us. And when I say onto us, I mean onto this chitta mind, not some personal sense of this is who I am. That's not what it refers to. So here's an example of vijnana. The eye sees form. Eye consciousness arises. These three, eye, form, and consciousness, create what is called contact. And I think of some Star Wars kind of movie I saw. They announced, Sir, we've made contact. Captain, we've made contact. With contact, there is feeling. So once the six sense doors make contact with the world, a sensation arises, Vedana. What we feel, we perceive. So Vedana arise, well, we know that because a sanya has a memory that has cataloged, as I've said before, something like a barcode, experiences somewhat similar or even identical to the sensation we're currently experiencing. When sanya doesn't have any memory for the experience we're having in the present moment, it's in a state of shock. It's paralyzed, and our responses are very often panic, confusion. People say, I just blacked out. People become hysterical because they have no reference point for the experience that they're having in the present moment. Very often these are tragic experiences and shocking experiences, and we have the saying, they went into shock. It refers both to the body and the mind. So we have Vedana, we have a memory that helps us understand what we're going through, or is temporarily kind of paralyzed because it's trying to make sense of the present moment. In the future, it will have that experience in its memory bank. What we perceive, we think about. That's sankharas. What we think about, we conceptually proliferate. So here's the word proliferate. It is another way of saying, then we just keep thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And a lot of this thinking has to do with feelings, and we only want pleasurable feelings, but we'll accept painful memories and feelings so long as it's a feeling and we can claim it as being who I am. This is me. With what one conceptually proliferates as source, proliferations, perceptions, and deliberations, in all capital letters, assail a person in regard to past, present, and future, all made from contact with the six sense doors. So the only purpose of the six sense doors is to assail consciousness with the idea that I'm a person. So one of the teachings is to try and find a place of seclusion. We've talked about that in the past. There are several forms that seclusion takes. the value of finding a place of seclusion is we are not assailed through the six sense doors. We're not stimulated through the six sense doors in the same way that we are in the marketplace. So when we live in the city, all the sounds, the human voices, the traffic noise, etc., the possible air pollution, and all of the information, media, televisions, etc., Amazon.com is all assailing us with a message that says we need to consume. We need to just keep consuming. If we fail to consume, we've somehow failed to meet our fundamental goal in life. So when we go into a natural environment, we still see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, but what that vibration is like is that Vedana is very different than the sensations we get when we're in a shopping mall, when we're walking down a business street. The sensations there are saturated with craving. And that is not what Mother Nature is saturated with. It's saturated with a sense of harmony, a sense of unity, a sense of actual peace that is just organic. It's just the law of nature. And the city environment is a violation of that law. That's why we can destroy the earth through our consumption. So, in conclusion, as we're concluding the nama, the mind portion of the mind-body sensorium, in conclusion, these 5 steps that occur in the mind happen very quickly. They happen naturally, they happen spontaneously, and there's no limit to them, there's no end to them. As long as we're having these 6 sense doors, and their sole purpose is to convince us that we're a person, that our satisfaction, our sense of well-being is determined by how much we can consume in a life. And until we consciously wake up to this post-hypnotic suggestion, we're destined to just wander in the darkness. Without mindfulness, developed deep and strong, powerful mindfulness developed through our meditation practice, we will not be successful waking up, and will be destined to the cycle of rebirth. Thank you. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this talk. I trust you'll consider it, evaluate it, analyze it, contemplate it, and not as theory, not as a philosophy, not as something to be discarded if you don't agree with some point, but to analyze and use it as a tool to investigate the way what we call your mind works. See if, in fact, there is this habit pattern in the mind, and that it happens naturally, spontaneously, without your permission. Then you will be practicing Dhamma. Just to theorize about it, to argue with others about it, to agree or disagree, has no value to you as a Dhamma student. Thank you again. I appreciate you listening, and I hope you'll share with others. Thank you.